because the pictures and the page numbers varied from edition to edition. Of course, having good pictures is an asset in programming because the child will visualize off of the pictures when building its internal world. Also, large Wizard of Oz theme parks are being built by the Illuminati to provide places to carry out programming and to reinforce the programming which traps the minds of monarch slaves. The best examples of this is, well, one of them is the audacious MGM Grand Complex in Las Vegas. Although other theme parks around America also use a Wizard of Oz theme, the Theosophical Society ties in with the Freemasonry organization, Satanism, and the Lucis Trust. A few famous members of the Theosophical Society are Adolf Hitler, a Satanist who practiced human sacrifice, had Helen Blavatsky's book almost constantly at his side. So did Mahatma Gandhi, a Hindu guru considered a god by some of his followers. Gandhi was successful with the British partly because of the Theosophical Society's contacts with him. And I should mention that a man who brought a lot of this dark world out into the open, Fritz Springmeijer, the author of 3 books on the Illuminati mind control, is now serving 9 years in prison for robbery. He was convicted of planning the robbery and was involved in the alleged theft of $6,000 from a bank at gunpoint. There's little or no information on the current state of Fritz Springmeijer, and he's not even on Wikipedia, which is very, very strange, don't you think? Space, back with more in a moment on AM 640 Toronto Radio.
The opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of AM 640. He goes deeper into today's headlines than anyone else dares to go. But you can take it. This is A View from Space with the Spaceman on AM 640.
I'm the guy they call Space. This is AM 640 Toronto Radio. A couple of the addresses you can email me, space@640toronto.com or spaceman@640toronto.com. We just call him the G-Man. Space, this isn't the first time that Johnny Depp, and I was speaking about Johnny Depp a little earlier in the show, has been peripherally connected with the death of an up-and-coming young actor. River Phoenix died of a drug overdose after leaving the nightclub that Johnny Depp then owned and operated. Sign of the G-Man. That's absolutely correct. I forgot all about River Phoenix. And of course, Phoenix is all over the 2008 Beijing Olympics as the logo. So, I was just talking about a man by the name of Fritz Springmeijer, who has done a lot to open the world's eyes to the Illuminati and just what they're up to. And as I've said, busted in jail for 9 years for $6,000 bank robbery. It just doesn't figure. And you can hardly find out anything about the man. Like what's happened with him, what he's doing now. There isn't even a Wikipedia entry for Fritz Springmeijer. But there is, say, for me, a guy like me, I'm on Wikipedia. But Fritz Springmeijer is not? What's up with that? I find that very, Very strange indeed. Something else very strange. I was drawn to the Paul McCartney is dead conspiracy a while back because it's also got the almost now mythical 9/11 connotation to it. The U.S. system for numbering dates, September 11th, is of course numbered 9/11 for the month and then the day. But the Europeans, you see, they do the day and then the month. So in Europe, it's a backward 9/11. It's 11/9. So I thought it strange that the Paul is dead story contained the backward number with the date the 9th of November, which is numbered in the Euro system as the date 9/11. So I began to research that time and location on a particular date for planetary movement in astrology, because that's one of the Illuminati's three guides: astrology, sacred geometry, and numerology being the other two. I found there was a superior conjunction of, can you see Winston Churchill holding up his hand now with the V sign? A superior conjunction with Venus at 12:45 on the 9th of November of 1966, as seen from London, England. Do you know what November 9th, 1966 is? Why, it's the date for the supposed Paul McCartney car crash. You remember the song, He Blew His Mind Out in a Car? I began to research that time and location. First, here's some theories that crossed my mind. Firstly, the possibility that Paul McCartney was actually sacrificed, a ritual blood sacrifice, and the whole thing was kept secret, obviously came to mind. Because the album covers and all of that. I've done a show on it, a couple of them, on A View from Space on AM 640, Toronto Radio. But what about option two? Maybe he wasn't killed? Maybe the Paul McCartney we have now is the same Paul, but this doesn't explain the symbolism on all the album covers and in song lyrics, and it certainly doesn't explain the 9/11 date and the planetary conjunction over the city on that day in 1966, the 9th of November. I'm not, of course, referring to an actual Messiah event, but I am talking about the Masonic raising ceremony. It's possible that the original Paul McCartney is still alive and just had some sort of early plastic surgery. This option of Paul becoming indoctrinated does make sense. I also believe that Paul was a sacrifice. Also makes a lot of sense with the wool being pulled over the sheep's eyes. And the sheep, by the way, of course, are you and I. I also find it very interesting that John Lennon, a man who was sacrificed by a mind control assassin, always vehemently denied that anything had happened to Paul. I only bring this up now because there's also a connection back to Heath Ledger.